Very good. Welcome, everyone, to Rotary Coastal Club. We're an online, uh, internet-based Rotary International Club, and today we're going to be have a presentation by Jonathan Foret at the Wetlands Discovery Center in Terrebonne Parish. And before we get started, I just want to make a few introductory comments. If you look at the top of your screen, if you can hear me, there is a three-dot toolkit listed. If you're currently on your telephone, in the future, if you click on that toolkit, it will display for you a settings option. If you select that settings option, it will allow you to call in through your computer. If you're using a mobile device on join.me, it's actually a phone icon that's listed in those bubbles, which again you can join by your online through your computer as opposed to having to use the phone system. This is a new club within District 6200, which is basically I-10 South in Louisiana to Hammond. We're many, I think 60 different clubs here in the, maybe it's 30 clubs here in the district, and we are the first E-Club to launch. And so we're very excited about that. Our focus is on coastal issues here in Louisiana. As we move forward, as we gain more membership, we will expand that footprint as others join us from across the Gulf Coast and hopefully across the country and around the world eventually, that we would be a forum that allows a discussion of coastal issues that affect our coastal communities and the citizens that live in those communities, and how we can best serve them as Rotarians. If you're not currently Rotarian, that's fun, that's great. Glad to have you attend the meeting. This meeting is open to Rotarians and non-Rotarians alike. And so again, welcome to you, and we'll go ahead and go to the next slide, which is in a Rotary fashion. We typically open with a Pledge of Allegiance. So as with the flag here, I'll go ahead and recite the Pledge of Allegiance, and you can recite it silently to yourself, or if you like mine, and I'm going to go ahead and recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Very good. Another Rotary tradition is what we call the four-way test. And this is the Rotaries of the things we think, say, or do. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? And that is the foundation of Rotary, this idea of fellowship, doing good for society, for a fellow man. And we are a service-based organization, and our desire is to serve not just our local communities where we're currently located, but also in the coastal Rotary Coastal Club. Its desire is to serve coastal communities in Louisiana, working through local brick and mortar Rotary clubs, which are located all across South Louisiana, to invest in their communities, doing service activities or financial aid, or however we can help them in their communities as well. So we will have a connection directly with the brick and mortar clubs. So again, we welcome you. Today we'll get right into today's speaker. It's Jonathan. He's the director of Wetlands Discovery Center, this coastal initiative based in Terrebonne Parish that is revolutionizing how we think, teach, and learn about Louisiana's disappearing coast. And Charles and I were on the phone earlier this morning at 8 o'clock with Jonathan, making sure we had all the technology ready to go. And of course, we got on at 11:30 trying to make sure it was all working. And so Jonathan's been struggling for a few minutes trying to get reconnected, and hopefully it's been done by now. And so, Charles, is he ready to go?
I believe that we are.
Very good.
Yes.
So Jonathan, you can take it over.
All right. Can you guys hear me?
I can hear you fine.
Hello. Okay, great. Just checking. Let me get all of this in place up here. So good morning to everyone, and I do have to say a very special thank you to Charles, because as I was having a panic attack on this end, trying to figure out how I was going to get my presentation to work and which computer I had to go to and how to download the app and whatnot, he had such a calm, cool, collected tone that it kind of just assured me that everything was going to be okay, even though I was kind of freaking out in my head on this side. But so thank you, Charles, for helping me to get all this set up. So one of the things that I'd like to talk about today is our environmental heritage, understanding our inheritance. And so, let me look right here. So just sort of a background of how this picture came to be. One of the things that we wanted to do at the Discovery Center was establish a campaign that was emotional and then also created a sense of urgency. And so what we did was we had a group of our students get in the water, in the marsh, and take pictures of them, you know, sort of in the same thing, same format that you see on your screen there. And as they were getting in and out of the water, I was on one side of them, and my dad was on the other side, because you can imagine, you know, kids sinking waist deep into the mud of the marsh. It was a challenge for them to get in and out. And so once we had finished doing that, some folks came up, the photographer said, since you and your dad are in the water right now, let's take a picture of you guys. And so I came across this photo a few months back, and my dad actually passed away 8 months ago. And during that time, it was definitely a time of self-reflection and sort of figuring out life, what's going on, what does it mean, the whole 9 yards, missing him a whole lot. And then this picture came across my path again, and there were no words on it. And I began to think, what did my dad leave to me? What was it that I inherited, you know? And when I say inherited, I'm talking about my true inheritance. What did he leave behind that was now mine? And I'm not talking about a house or a bank account. It was things like knowing how much seasoning to put in a pot to ball crawfish. And it was knowing how to throw a cast net. Those were the things that I really inherited from him. But on top of it, I also inherited this land loss debt of his. And I'm not sure that I'm going to be able to get out from under it. And when we think of our children, most folks want to leave them in a better state financially and in terms of education. But all of that takes planning and making the right decisions. One of the goals of the Wetlands Discovery Center is to make sure that our students understand exactly what they're inheriting with both the assets and the debt that comes with that. In 50 years, those students are going to be faced with living life in a very different way in coastal Louisiana. And it's going to be our responsibility to ensure that those students have the skill set that they need to make good decisions for themselves and for their families. We've been working very hard to raise the money to build the Wetlands Discovery Center. So right now, our organization is housed in the Water Life Museum, which sort of fits our mission, but we're able to work out of this facility and do our programs out of this facility. But our future home is going to give us a much better place to do those things. One thing that we've done very well at the Discovery Center is teaching the science of coastal land loss and restoration. But what we've realized is that we also need to focus on the politics of land loss and restoration. And so that led us to developing our annual Wetlands Youth Summit, where we teach kids about leadership skills, how to navigate through the politics of coastal restoration. Our students attend public meetings throughout the year. They participate in making comments on the Coastal Master Plan, and they also present Quipper projects. One of the projects that they presented received $5.2 million for planning and design. So that project is going to move forward. And so the kids are learning what this process looks like. And I have this this video that I'd like to play for you guys. Let me know if the sound, I think I'm going to be okay with the sound, but we're doing it in a different way this go around. So if you just see mouths moving and no sound, let me know and I'll try my best to fix that.
Hurricanes have always affected Louisiana. They've always affected southern Louisiana especially. But the land itself in the past, couple decades, that's what's changing, and that's what's causing this big problem.
Our community is so greatly affected by hurricanes that it shows something about the kind of people that live down here. We stand up and we come back year after year, and we come back to the community that has literally just been destroyed.
But whenever we flooded for the first time, I was really little. I was probably 8 or something. But I remember the whole neighborhood came together, and we fixed each other's houses.
Our house is raised about 9-10 feet in the air, and if we wouldn't evacuate, the water would be up to our porch. It's the water rises so drastically. The winds are terrible. We've had the front of our porch ripped off. We've had our house flooded. That's the reason we raised it in the first place.
I don't think people are doing enough to address climate change.
There's people like me who really don't know what's going on. We don't know how to fix it, but we can stand up and say that, we want to see something done.
If you want to get stuff done and you really want to change stuff, then it's about politics, and you have to get money for it.
Through working with a local nonprofit, we're able to network out with a federal organization.
We presented a project. It was called the Bayou du Large Ridge Restoration and Marsh Creation Project. We presented the Quipper people, and they're the ones to decide where the money gets allocated to do projects like this. And so we went and we presented it, and it was a big success. And it just shows you that, you could be a junior in high school, you could be a senior, or anything, and you don't have to know that much to actually make a difference.
I think it's important to consider that climate change isn't just affecting the land we live on. It's our community. It's where we're from.
We get hurricanes all the time, and our land is sinking, and sea levels are rising. We have all these challenges, but we always come and we fix it because we want to be here.
And so I think when you're talking about what you're losing, it's more than just property. It's more than just land. It's more than just what you think you're losing. It's a way of life. It's a community. It's sitting on the porch Friday mornings. It's jambalaya. It's good cooking. It's festivals. It's families. It's generations of things that this land allowed us to have.
So I hope you guys were able to hear that clearly. Those are some really wonderful students that we have the opportunity to work with who, during the Wetlands Youth Summit, when we did that program, came up to me and said, Mr. Jonathan, we want to do more than just volunteering and planting marsh grass because it's going to take more efforts than just that. And so we figured that any citizen can present a Quipper project. And so we partnered with the EPA on one and NRCS on another project, and the kids were able to present that. They did a wonderful job, and we're able to follow those projects as they go through that funding pipeline. So some of the other programs we do, you see the Wetlands Youth Summit right there. We have our Vanishing Points project where the community identifies points of cultural interest that are important to them, and our students go out and document those areas. And I'll show you in a few minutes. I'll take you to that website and just kind of walk you through a little bit of how that works. We have the Mandalay Trail Adventure. We do summer camps, World Wetlands Day, lots of fun programs for the kids. And so we have to pay for all that. One of the ways that we do that is through grants from the Greater New Orleans Foundation, donations and whatnot, but we also do the Rougarou Fest. It started out as a Friday afternoon, and it's turned into a 2-day festival that has recognition nationwide. USA Today ranked us as one of the top 10 best costume parties. The Southeast Tourism Society ranked us as one of the top 20 events in the month of October, and most recently, the Louisiana Association of Fairs and Festivals ranked us as one of as the best new event of 2016. So we're really proud of that. It's taken a lot of work. I am a Lagniappe kid. I don't know if those of you on the call have ever heard or remembered Lagniappe on the Bayou, but it was a wonderful festival that the whole community came together, and they were very proud of their culture and heritage, and people from around the world came to this particular festival to celebrate who we are as a people. And we will never be able to reproduce Lagniappe on the Bayou, but I'm happy that Rougarou Fest is brought together in the same spirit that Lagniappe was put together. It's got delicious food, great music, and one of the things that's come about from this is that the Rougarou, if you don't know, is the Cajun werewolf. So these were stories that we heard growing up as kids around here on the Bayou that, you know, if you had to get inside before it got dark or the Rougarou was going to get you, and we didn't know what that meant, but we just knew that we didn't want to be the ones that the Rougarou got. So I guess he was a story that our parents used to keep the kids in line, and it worked. But it's also a part of our folklore here. And so the Rougarou has sort of become our Smokey the Bear. You know, only you can save coastal Louisiana. And because if the Rougarou doesn't have a place to live, then neither do we, you know. So that event has really brought our community together. It's developed our volunteer base. It does raise the money that we need to for our operations, but then also for our capital campaign, because that facility that I showed you earlier, phase one is going to cost us $1.3 million. We did have capital outlay funds dedicated to that project that were in priority one, which means we had access to them, but they sort of put the brakes on that because the state budget is in such bad shape right now. So we're hoping that within the next year or so, the state budget gets a little bit better to where we can access those funds and move forward with that first phase. Another one of our events that we do is the Rougarou Ball, and this one's coming up on May 6th. This, again, is just a fun way for people to get together. We give an award to someone who has made great strides in coastal restoration and preservation. This year's theme is the Swamp Thing, and so we have Adrienne Barbeau, who's going to be coming as our celebrity guest, and she will help us to select the Rougarou Queen. It's a pageant, but it's not like any other pageant that you've seen. We have artists that come together that make these beautiful visions for that event. I guess one of the things that I want to land on finally is this particular graph that this is in the Coastal Master Plan, and this particular one is for Terrebonne Parish, because in Terrebonne Parish we sort of have a unique situation where we're a bit far away from any source of sediment. The Atchafalaya is building some land sort of around the Morgan City area, and then you've got the Mississippi, you know, that is building land in certain areas where there are outlets. But we are sort of far from any kind of sediment pipeline to be able to get to us. In about 50 years, the majority of our students that we work with are going to be in their 60s. And chances are I'm not going to be around, you know, and they will have gained their inheritance. And I'm just not sure if I'm going to be able to get them out of the land loss debt before I'm dead. You know, I mean, I'm going to do my best alongside with the rest of you, and I really hope that we're going to be able to inspire someone to develop these new technologies that may be able to save our communities. But hope is not a plan, you know, and until those technologies exist, we really do need to plan for the worst. You know, we've already seen a lot of attrition take place in the communities in southern Terrebonne Parish. I mean, we've got 2 elementary schools that have closed because there are no children to attend school, or so few children to attend school in that area. It's cheaper to bus those students to an elementary school north of where they went to school. So families are leaving from that area. And the one thing that I can say that gives me courage is that the students that I work with are very optimistic. You know, I show them images like the one on your screen right now, and this shows that there is, like, we never get to net zero land loss. We never get to a point where we're going to create more land than we're losing. Even with the plan, the $50 billion plan for Terrebonne Parish, we're still losing a whole lot of land that's going to change the way that our people live in this particular area. The passion that these kids have make me think that they may be the generation that gets us out of this land loss debt, but we also have the responsibility to give them the tools to do so. And that's one of the things that the Wetlands Discovery Center sets out, is just sort of being there with the information to help them. They are going to have some pretty difficult choices to make when they're our age, you know. The last thing that I would like to do is, if I can get there, I want to show you all this Vanishing Points website, and you can check this out later. So our students come together. Well, the folks in the community identify a point of interest, and so all of these points have been identified by folks that say, this is something that's important to us in our community. If you see the black dots, those are things that are no longer in existence. If you see the ones that are completely water, it means that those are areas that are most vulnerable. Then you have some with a little bit of land and water. That's sort of, you know, on the cusp of being lost. And then the things that show sort of the marsh with the grass, they're still, you know, not in great places, but it's a little less vulnerable than some of the others. So I'll click on Laperouse Seafood Bar and Grocery, and there's a video here. It talks a little bit about the place. There's Mr. Terry. He does all the dried shrimp down there. It has other pictures of the area, and then we put the coordinates of where this place is located. Shows the ground elevation, which is a foot below sea level. The advisory base flood elevation level, which is 14 feet. So this area that the community has identified as being important to them, it would have to be raised 15 feet in order to pass FEMA standards, right? So our hope with doing this was to get people to sort of understand flood elevation levels and to see, like, wow, 15 feet, like, and this place is, you know, it's a campground, it's a store, so it would be fairly hard to elevate this entire area. I'd just like to play this one last video, and Charles, if you can respond to me, I'm not sure if you're on mute or not. Were you able to hear the last video okay, or was the sound kind of crazy?
It was fine. There's a slight delay, but it was good, so go ahead.
Okay, I'll just play this last video, and then we'll open it up to any questions that y'all may have.
I've been here 80 years, all my life. Dad up for Jess and up for Gus at first. Then Gus went to work for the oil company, and then Dad bought this shower out, build this up like we got it today.
My name is Sheila Cruz, and I'm his daughter. Let's see, we from a big family, so there were 6 of us all the time. When we were growing up, we always asked Dad, Daddy, can we have a bike this year? Daddy, can we have this? Daddy, can we have that? he would just kind of look at us real seriously and point to the bayou, and we'd always go, what, can we have one? And he was like, no, go work for it. We did a lot of piroguing, a lot of boat riding, a lot of bicycling, a lot of trawling. It was kind of funny when we were kids. Daddy put a big mic on the house for my mom to call us. So when we'd be playing and stuff, we'd get called to come to work. So we had to go to the platform. They would dry the shrimp, and our job was to turn them every so often. And it was hot, so we'd get to the end of the platform and we'd jump in the bayou and cool off and stuff.
And this was a big hall music for that show.
I remember that as a kid. We didn't have real windows. We just had doors that would open up. And we had little seats that went around. And then growing up, I never knew why things were called the Fado-Do. And then I found out because they would actually bring the kids to the dances, the parents would, and they put them on the little benches and say, now, Fado-Do, go to sleep. And then they dance while the kids all slept along the same waiting for the parents. The shrimp's been getting dried for years and years and years and years.
Oh, yeah, for the 1800s. They walk on the strip with some sacks on their feet and break them up, then they have to pick them, finish feeding by hand. They say good old days, though. That wasn't good old days. That's that part of it. Everything by hand and catch them in the canal right by the fly net. They're fresh. They come out of the water, weigh them, then ball them, put them in the dryers.
You have dryers, but you still have to turn them every hour. You can't leave them just sit there. They have to be turned to get them dry. And then they got to sit here and clean them out like we used to do. So that's more labor. I was able to go back to 2004 and check out the quantity of shrimp that we purchased, and every year the quantity has been cut in half.
Last 2 years, I lost 65% of my income on the shrimping because the current's not as strong, and it's going out to do like of that. Most all of the old people are gone. We got maybe around here, they might have like maybe 18 people that live down here now. Before you had a bunch of people.
I just feel heartbroken when I look at everything's gone. The land's gone, the trees are gone, everything is gone. It's just kind of sad. Daddy owns the canal, and he tries to set rules to keep it preserved, to keep it like it is.
The canal, when I was a young boy, could dive and come back from the other side of the canal. That's how narrow it was. It'd be a challenge to see what they got there. The way it's going right now, it's washing away much faster.
I'm hoping that we get to keep the store alive and working because people really like to come here. And then you look at our house next door, it's like we used to park our cars under, and we used to climb on a chair to wash the car. We had to wash cars too. So we wash our big station wagon, and now you can't even park the car in there. So you're kind of wondering what's going on. Everything's just gone away.
So that's one of the things that I'm very proud about with this particular website is that our students are the ones who come up with the interview questions for the people that we go out and interview, and they participate in that whole process. And they also participate in putting the videos together. And you'll see some of the videos are not terribly consistent because we get different groups of kids to do the video editing on using different formats. And so that's something that I do want to work on. But it's also great that the students are participating in this and documenting their culture. And it's great and heartbreaking in the same sense. I hope this can be used as a tool to fight to preserve what we have. But if that's not the case, we're documenting a beautiful way of life right now that may not exist in 100 years or so. So I think the website has value on several different levels. But with that, Charles, I guess I'll hand it back over to you, or if anybody has any questions about the work we do with the Discovery Center, or any comments or suggestions, I'm happy to hear from all of you. Thank you all so much for being a part of this group, because this is important. I mean, without our land, we don't have much, you know. So, Charles, anything?
Sure.
I'll take it back from you there, Jonathan. Thank you for that presentation. It was
Okay.
quite informative for myself, just to see what's happening in your community, the activities that you have going on to try to provide that heritage and inheritance for generations to come. The fact that you have high school students involved in this, and the generations. I loved what they were saying in their presentation in regards to how they view South Louisiana and life in the coastal communities. It was a wonderful thing. And I will open it up to questions that anyone may have. You have a chat. If you look at the top of your screen, there's a chat, little bubble right there that says chat. If you want to type Jonathan a question, type him a question. I think also the microphones are probably open. If I'm not correct, or if I'm correct, Charles, the microphones are open. So if you were to, there's a 3 bubble on the computer version under the tools. There's a 3 dot bubble at the top of your screen. If you were to click on that under settings, it would allow you to, if you're on the phone, I think you can just speak on the phone, but if you're using your computer for your audio and your both to hear and to speak, you can speak a question as well. So you can either speak a question or type a question in and be happy to respond. I'm sure Jonathan would be happy to respond to you.
Jonathan, this is Charles. I have a question. I too grew up on a bayou, and in fact, I'm calling in from beautiful Bayou de Large, of all places. Actually, literally looking at the bayou as it goes by, which is a testament to technology doing good things. But I sometimes wonder, in my generation, we grew up with all this abundance, and I wonder, is there hope for us, or do we have to wait until the next generation? Because I still feel that sometimes we still, even as we pass by the vanishing coast and marshes, that we still, I don't know, we really don't see it as much. It troubles me to go out. You talk to Fauga Canal. When I go out on Fauga Canal, it just breaks my heart sometimes to see, from what it used to be. But anyway, I'm encouraged that you've got this rising generation, but have you had any success in sort of, gathering the hearts and minds of more people than just you?
I say yes. I think that the majority of our people here, for sure, know that it's a problem. I don't think they know what to do to fix it. The last CPRA meeting for the Coastal Master Plan, it was the most attendance that I had seen in a public meeting as such, and our students came as well. And so I think people are plugged in. I'm not so sure about the rest of the country. I do know that there are some people. I mean, we have folks from Chicago that come down and volunteer for the Rougarou Fest because they believe in what our organization is doing. There's also Restore the Earth Foundation, who is working to restore acres and acres of marsh. They call this North America's Amazon. So I know that there are certain groups that do understand, but other places around the country have their own challenges in terms of droughts and tornadoes and things like that. So I guess it's for the same reason why we're yelling over here about coastal land loss and we need help. There's somebody else in a different section of the country yelling that they need help because of droughts and such things. And why do we care about them having a drought when we're drowning? You know what I mean? So it's a huge challenge. It is a huge challenge. I think that our kids here understand all of that a little bit better than they did before. But I don't know how to. There's not a. I try to be optimistic in this as much as I possibly can, especially with the kids. And when I see the passion that they have, it gives me a little bit extra energy. But when you read through the documents that we see with the Coastal Master Plan and future sea level projections and things like that. Like, it's really hard. And to be honest with you, and I you know, I don't want to sound all doom and gloom, but like, we'll have to find some innovative technology that may help us to continue to live here. It might be, we may be living here in a different way. I'm not saying that that's not going to be possible. But I feel like our responsibility right now, at least to the next generation, is to make sure that they have a good foundation and understanding of all of it, like the causes of the land loss. What does the future look like? So that way they're not blindsided by something at some point. You know what I mean? I think that's what our responsibility is for the Discovery Center, at least, is to give them the information so that they are going to be able to make decisions and tough decisions for them and their families in the future. And hopefully those decisions are going to be able to stay here, live here, and be safe, you know?
Thank you.
Any other questions from any of the participants? Very good. We don't have any other participants. If you're a Rotarian with us, you can. Well, actually, Charles has got the. If you would like to become a Rotarian, we have an application page on our website. It says "Apply Now." We'd love to have you consider to be a member of the E-Rotary Coastal Club. Simply apply online. Charles and I will get your application. We'll arrange a telephone call and do an interview to explain to you District 6200 E-Rotary Coastal Club, what it is to be a member of Rotary International, if you're not already familiar with Rotary International, and the service opportunities that we hope to become involved in, and that because Rotary is a service organization, and how we can best serve the coastal communities and use yourself as a resource to help provide exactly what Jonathan's talking about right now, help those coastal communities overcome the issues that are literally at their front door of how do they adjust to changing environmental conditions in their communities. Then also we have, if you're a visiting Rotarian, we have an attendance certificate. If you would go to the meeting page that's on the website, we're on the eMeet today, and you would click on that page where you would see Jonathan's picture and a brief summary of the presentation. At the bottom of that page, you'll see a attendance certificate link. Just click on the attendance certificate, fill out your first, last name, email address, and the topic that you listened to, and you'll be auto-generated an email of that certificate to present to your sergeant at arms back at your Rotary Club, and get the credit for attendance to this meeting. And with that, if no one has anything else, Charles, I'll let you go ahead and tie this thing together, and we'll be done.
Once again, thank you for everybody for your time and interest. Jonathan, thank you so much for participating. And we, as Rotarians, we're known for making a tangible difference in the communities that we serve. Rotary is a global organization, so we consider the communities we serve to be global. And but more especially beginning in South Louisiana, where we all make our homes. All right, thank you all for joining us. We'll do this again on we're not meeting next Thursday, but the following Thursday we'll meet again. Please look for your emails for another compelling speaker. And again, thank you all for joining us.
Thank you very much. Y'all have yourselves a fantastic rest of the afternoon.
Thank you.